No funny intro for this one. No gameplay for it either. Honestly, this is kind of a more serious video than we normally do around here, and I feel it should, it should take the seriousness that it deserves. I think we all know what happened about a week ago, the death of Charlie Kirk, a conservative right-wing commentator, debater type dude. I think that we've probably all heard about this, and we've probably been oversaturated with it. So apologies for adding onto that pile of depressing horse shit. I'm not really going to talk too much about the assassination itself, so much as the interactions around it is what I really believe is important. Things changed. Things have changed. There's obviously been a lot of political related deaths, a lot that we don't know about. I was surprised to hear about some things that have been going on, some deaths of some smaller scale politicians and whatnot, some other things of that nature that have been going on for a while now, but I believe this has really forced us to kind of just look at what's going on from a different light. As you all know, I spend a lot more time criticizing my own side, the right, than I have the left, and I do that for good reason, I believe. I feel that it is important to keep my side of things in check, to keep us held accountable for our own actions. And one of the biggest things that the right is very guilty of is thinking we can find a peaceful solution to everything, thinking we can talk our way out of every problem. Whenever we hear somebody disagree with us, it's like, okay, well, let's have a discussion. But I think that has largely blinded the right to a lot of things. I had this kind of pointed out to me, and this is one of those things where I noticed it, but I never really kind of considered it until it was brought to my attention, per se. The talking points of the left changed. It went from, you're a racist, you're a bigot, why would anybody want to listen to you? And this was around 2020, this was around COVID that this happened. It went from, you're a racist, you're a bigot, why would anybody want to listen to you, you're not credible, to disagreeing with the left is a form of violence. And I think it's very clear now what that was. That was justification for politically charged acts of violence, riots, assassination, etc. It was a signal that we were blind to at the time because we don't speak their language. It was a signal to people on the far left, to others on the far left, that it was time to escalate. It's time for phase 2. To violently enforce their ideology, and that's what we're looking at. That's what we're staring down the barrel of. Not even minutes after Kirk was shot, the internet was overwhelmed, for lack of better words. There was a lot of crazy liberals celebrating this man's death. There's a lot more, to my understanding, there's a lot more people who have looked at this and went, this is wrong, and do not condone the idea of political death, even if they saw Charlie Kirk as a bad person. I'm happy for that. I'm happy that there's enough people, it seems, on both sides to realize that this is insane. And a lot of people who are looking at this as what it is and denouncing it, but that's not enough. Simple fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if the majority of people think this is wrong. There's a group of people that want a war, and we have spent the past decade trying to talk them down. They're not going to listen to speech. These revolutionaries speak the language of violence, and they will not respond to anything but the language of violence. You will never find an instance in a human history where a communist uprising was shut down by talking. It's always been by counter-violence. And I'm not condoning counter-violence. I'm not condoning violence at all. I'm calling it inevitable. We have instances of people on the left, obviously, celebrating this. Celebrating this man's death is a good thing. We saw the same thing with fucking Luigi. Celebrating this as good things, touting these people up as heroes. This time I noticed that people on the right were also calling for violence. Maybe not anybody big, but I'm in a few right-wing and at least somewhat Christian communities myself, and I noticed a common theme of people on the right finally wanting counter-violence. People finally wanting to just go out and to start killing liberals, start killing leftists. And I've even seen some conservative individuals who do have a following, you know, people watch them and shit on YouTube or Rumble and whatnot, while not directly calling for violence, making it very clear that they're fed up with this and they're no longer looking for common ground. And I'm not here to say whether or not that's right or wrong. I'm not here to say, I'm not here to endorse or even condone violence at this point. I'm here to say that it is inevitable. That there will be an escalation. An escalation of freedom, if you will. There's no denying it and there's no avoiding it. Something has changed and something big is going to happen. This is going to turn into something. And it's important to be prepared for that. Little fact here about me. I currently live in the same city as my parents and my sibling. Without doxing myself or going into too much information, I am here because they are in need of assistance. My parents especially are getting elderly. My dad has medical conditions, and when I saw the rhetoric from people on the right of wanting to escalate things themselves, of finally being fed up and wanting violence themselves, the first thing that went through my mind was, if this escalation happens, what happens to my family? And what do I have to do to keep them safe? And look, I'll be honest, for a while when I first heard the news, I was angry too. I was like, yeah, I want justice, I want something done about this. But when cooler heads won over, I started to think about this. Well, if this is inevitable, again, this is inevitable, this is where we're heading, what's going to happen? Who's this going to affect? And that's really what I'm here to bring attention to. This is what I think is important and the thing that people aren't really considering. What's going to happen to your families, your loved ones, everyday people? What's going to happen to you? A civil war, an escalation to violence, isn't the solution you think it'll be if you are one of these people. It's not something to look forward to, it is something to avoid. And while, yes, the big issue here is that we tried to talk down something that couldn't be talked down, I believe that if we were a little bit more strict about it early on, it wouldn't have gotten to this point. But we are here now. And we do need to be prepared for that. I know this is kind of a ramble, I know, but bear with me. The left has gone too far. I am happy with the response that the Trump administration and a lot of communities and a lot of people have taken in response to this assassination. I am very happy that this is leading to a large amount of left-wing activists and left-wing influencers, and apparently a lot of left-wing groups to be investigated, and some being officially, like Antifa being officially labeled as terrorist groups, which opens up a plethora of possibilities to deal with them. I think these things needed to happen. I'm just sad that it required a death for them to happen, when a lot of these things are things that we've been calling for a long time. I remember the Obama days. I remember 2010s. A lot of the stuff that we're getting now is stuff that I remember wanting to see done back then. But there's another thing to look at here. For context, it's important to note I'm a Christian. So is Charlie, mind you. And I don't expect everybody to agree with this take on things. So if you are not a Christian, I would implore you to look at this from an objective stance about what I'm about to say, and not to throw it out just because I'm going to be religious, because I am going to try and paint things in a less religious manner, in a more logical one for you. So this is a little YouTube short from a guy I like to watch sometimes. His name is Eli Yoder. He spends a lot of time talking about his issues with the the Amish. But he's a Christian too, and he brought up this, which I found to be kind of interesting. Again, coming at this from a Christian standpoint.
Wow! I can't believe it. You know what time Charlie Kirk was assassinated? It says it was 12:23 p.m. At 12:23 p.m., a Utah Valley University police officer states, Alpha 34, we have shots fired. Charlie Kirk is down. And then I go to John chapter 12, verse 23, matching that time. And Jesus says, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Wow! It was Charlie's time for the glory of God. Very truly I say to you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. What? When he died, I've seen so many other believers rise up. They're boldly professing the gospel with their lips. It's multitudes, millions. One seed died and millions more sprouted. Isn't that amazing? That's not a coincidence. That was the power of God. The timing was the supernatural power of God. I'm convinced of it. Because now there's so many more Charlies. We are Charlie. And we're roaring for Charlie and sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ and be the hands and feet of Jesus just the way Charlie was. So God is glorified in it. It was his time. Wow.
And so this is, I thought that was an interesting outlook on things. Like I said, I don't really expect a non-Christian to agree with me on this, but he's not wrong. Now granted, this man, he's talking specifically from a Christian standpoint, and that cannot be denied. Charlie Kirk was Christian, and to my understanding, and there was a lot of people who followed him who were Christian. A lot of Christians have been speaking out about this. But it's not just Christians. It's people on the right in general. This has mobilized people. This has brought attention to things. This has made a lot of people fed up. And some people, I believe, are acting in the correct way. They're no longer putting up with it, but they're not really pushing for violence, per se. They're speaking out against it. They're trying to win the battle one last time before it turns into a war. And I see two outcomes here. This could end peacefully and this could end violently. on one end, we have a lot of people who are speaking out. Charlie Kirk's death has mobilized a lot of people. They're speaking out. They're taking up this mantle. They're pushing against this communist fuck-ass ideology. And a lot of people are siding with them. And it's a movement. A lot of people who were traditionally Democrat have said they're not voting Democrat anymore because of this. This has not been good for the left. But at the same time, the crazy people on the left are still there, and the angry people who want violence on the right are still there, and they could just as equally still rise up and cause problems. I would rather see a peaceful outcome. But, as I've said, I don't know of any communist uprisings that were ended by peaceful outcome. We should push for the best outcome here in the United States, but we should prepare for the worst. That's what I'm going to say here. We should hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, because things have changed. You can almost feel it in the air. It's like after that day, we aren't living in the same country and in the same world anymore. Things have changed, and you can feel it. We need to be prepared for whatever it's changing into, but I think that we need to take the one chance we have to make sure it changes for the better and grasp it. And if it doesn't change for the better, we should prepare to survive it. If you are one of the people calling for violence, one of the people who's angry and fed up, I'd just like to remind you that a civil war isn't guaranteed to end in your fate. In fact, it's guaranteed that it won't. First Civil War, it took us like 10 to 15 years to rebuild in this country. That was with muskets and cannons. Imagine what it will become now. It won't be the same. I don't think you'll get the outcome you think you're going to get out of it. I don't think you're going to get to rebuild the country in the way you believe. This is the same criticism I have for right-wing SJWs. You're not going to be the ones who rebuild. You're not going to be the ones who decide what the future is. You're just going to destroy. It'll be somebody else who rises up in the destruction you bring that'll decide the outcome. And you're probably not going to like it. Even if you do get your way politically, you're going to have to deal with the aftermath that you have destroyed your homes. You've killed families. You have left yourself in rubble and bloodshed. And it's not going to be the thing that you thought it would be. In the end, you're not gonna realize it until it's too late. You're not gonna realize that it wasn't that the political violence, the counter violence that you want. You're not gonna realize that it that it didn't work until it's too late and you've set things on a path well outside of what you wanted. So, figured I should talk about this. You know, I like to talk about things I think are important to talk about in some manner. One other thing I want to touch on here, just because obviously this one's definitely personal for me. Obviously I've got the Helldivers icon. I like my Helldivers. The killer put a Helldivers reference on one of his bullets, and I know this is kind of a dead drama at this point, but that's still a hot button topic. No, Helldivers didn't make him like that. He did it because it was a popular meme, just like the Christchurch shooter. I know a lot of people are going to be angry at video games, and probably especially Helldivers. I know that's been a drama within the community as well. No, Helldivers did not encourage the shooting. No, he wasn't a Helldivers fan, per se. And I know it's gonna be hard, but it's a fucking video game. And if you want to enjoy the video game, just play the video game. Try to separate it from this. And for all of you who aren't gamers and saw this and are going on about the violent video games cause this, dude, No, it didn't. Violent TV shows didn't do it. Violent books didn't do this. Violent plays didn't do this. This was a fucking idiot who was fucking a dude who chopped his dick off in the ass, who wanted to try and cause as much drama and strife as he could with his actions. Video games are games. Anybody who expects Arrowhead to make a political statement out of this, no, you don't want Arrowhead to do that. Arrowhead staying silent, that's the best approach. No, the Helldivers community is not like this guy. Helldivers community is a largely friendly and welcoming community that was not happy with this. I know there's crazy whack jobs in the community. There's crazy whack jobs everywhere. They're the odd ones out. They're the bad apples in the group. But like I said, this is obviously a personal part for me, being that Helldivers is my favorite game. But it's just a game. Don't fall for this sicko's fucking attempt to rope random shit in and cause as many problems as you can. Don't fall for it. You're better than that, I hope. So yeah. Like I said, I felt this was something important to talk about. I like to talk about things that either I feel are important or things that I just want to talk about. You know, I just talk what I want to talk about. If it's important, I'm going to talk about it. I'm still working on my big projects. Life happened, and the projects that I was working on just happened to be really big, but I'm still working on those, don't worry. Got a couple other videos I want to do. So, yeah, stay safe.